Terrified? I have. But before I tell you about that, let me tell you a little bit about myself. I'm a realtor. I've been a realtor for the last 10 years, 20 years. God, time flies. Prior to that, I was in the corporate world, and in the corporate world, I was in sales, marketing, and human resources. I am a multi-time marathoner. I ride a Harley. I am a certified West Coast sailing skipper, and I love to ski. So let's get back to the time that I was absolutely terrified. I used to have a really good friend by the name of Ed. Ed was my buddy, and we did all kinds of wild and crazy stuff together. One day I decided that Ed and I should go skydiving. Well, for Ed, that wasn't a big deal because Ed was a glass worker, and he worked on the sides of big buildings like the Calgary Tower, and so heights were not a big concern for him. I was absolutely terrified. So probably not one of my better suggestions. But we decided to go for it anyhow. So we signed up for a skydiving course, and a few weeks later our time came along to go out and do it. So you head out to a small rural airport, and that's where the skydiving school is. And once you get out there, for the first 4 or 5 hours, it's pretty basic stuff. They teach you about how parachutes work, and they talk about the safety equipment you need and all this sort of stuff. And this goes on for, like I said, 4 or 5 hours in a classroom type setting. Well, all of a sudden the afternoon had flown by, and it was time for us to go for our first jump. Pretty crazy stuff. Okay? We get all suited up in our jumpsuits, we get our parachutes on, we get our reserve pack on the front, and we head out of the classroom and we're heading out to the plane that's waiting out on the runway. Now, most people, when they do their first jump, they do it as a tandem jump, which means you're attached in a harness to somebody else, to an experienced skydiver, and you jump out of the plane and away you go. We didn't do that. We were basically on our own. Now, we did have a one-way radio that was attached to the front of our equipment here, and the one-way radio was kind of a modified two-way radio, but you could hear the instructor on the ground, but they couldn't hear you. And the reason they said they did that is because they couldn't stand the sound of screaming. We headed out, we all climbed into the plane, and we're taxiing down the runway, and it's kind of a funny feeling at about that time, because you realize you're not coming back down with that plane. The plane starts to spiral up into the sky like this, up to 3,500 feet, which is the altitude that you jump from. And on the way up, the jump master, who is the guy who's in charge of everything on the plane, calls me over. Bob, come on over here. So I kind of scurry across the floor. You get over by the door. He throws the door open. The sound of the wind is absolutely crazy. The only thing that's louder than the sound of the wind is the beating of my heart, which I thought was going to explode. I look down, and I am absolutely terrified. Bob, focus, focus. Okay, you see the wing out there? You see there's a strut that comes down from the wing. At the bottom of the strut, there is a wheel. Just above the wheel, there's a little platform that's about 8 inches across. Here's what you're going to do. You're going to reach out. You're going to grab the strut with one hand. Then you're going to grab it with the other hand. Then you're going to step out onto the platform. Then you're going to step out onto the platform with the other foot. Okay? When I tell you, you release your feet, but hang on with your hands. So I do that. Okay, we're all set. I'm now out there flapping in the wind. He goes, okay, eye contact. Looks at me. Goes, when I say go, you let go. Okay? I let go. All of a sudden, there's this crazy feeling. You know, you're just flying through the air, but it only lasts a few seconds because there's this great big jerk, and that's when your chute opens. Feeling of relief. That's a good thing when that happens. So, I reach up, grab my toggles, okay, which is how you steer the chute. Pull this one, you go this way, you pull this one, you go that way. Hey, this is kind of fun. I look down, way down at the airport, like 3,000 feet down there. I see a little windsock down there. That tells me which way the wind is blowing, because it's really important that you fly into the wind as you're landing, okay? Okay, not much time to really relax here. Look at my altimeter. Ground is coming up pretty fast. Get yourself organized. Okay, I'm steering this way, I'm steering this way. Coming in for a landing. Just before you land, pull both toggles. That flares the chute and stops. stepped down onto the runway. I survived. What an incredible feeling. Gather up my chute. Look over my shoulder. There's my buddy Ed. He's walking across the tarmac towards me. Hey, Ed, how did it go? Turns out he jumped out of the plane just right after me. Bob, it was the most amazing, crazy experience I've ever done in my life. Hey Ed, you know what? The plane's going back up again. Should we go up for a second jump? Bob, I was absolutely terrified. No frickin' way would I ever do that again. I did 5 more jumps over the next couple of weeks. Madam Toastmaster.